about how do we make theater in the digital space. Yay.
Okay, actually,
Cool. Yeah.
somebody reached out to me today about it's more in the dance realm and was wondering how theater is going in terms of Zoom operations of it. You know,
That's a valid question. There's a lot happening, just it doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
Heroes of the Fourth Turning blew my mind. Like, if that's where it's headed, like I don't know how you do all of that work. Like, it's different, but.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter, we've all done it now. It's just a matter of changing their perspective of how you learn to direct and act in a different space. Mm-hmm. And I know these Zoomologues aren't necessarily live because we recorded them, but we all practiced how to direct and to act in these different spaces, in these new spaces. So, yeah. So I believe that, theater is not going to look like this forever, but there are definitely ways to adapt. And it's just because we're still human and we're still interacting with each other, and it's just a matter of how do we perform it. It looks different.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, why don't we? Oh, Janelle's here. Janelle!
Hey.
Yay! Oh, I'm so glad. Okay, I was just thinking about you. Yay! So excited that you're here. Cool. So Megan said she's coming, but she's going to be a little bit late. But essentially, we can just get started. First, we'll love to introduce myself. My name is Steph Miller, and I am the producer of the Cold Read series at the Artist Co-op, which is our new play development series that is for our TAC and sometimes non-TAC members. But through the beginnings of the pandemic, I felt very inspired, yet also antsy to utilize our Artist Co-op members in a new way. There were some other theater companies putting out monologues that they collaborated online and posting them through social media. And I thought, hey, we've got these incredible actors, writers, and directors. I would absolutely love to also utilize this time to commission our members and put up something of our own. And I reached out to Rachel and I was like, I have this idea. It's got a funny name. I'm thinking about calling it Zoomologues, and I thought it was the most ridiculous name, but she absolutely loved it. So I went with it, and we had our first round of Zoomologues at the beginning of May, and we had another viewing party then. And I thought, my goodness, we have to keep doing it because so much has changed throughout this time. Like, it doesn't even feel like we're in quarantine. Like this is like non-stop for at least next couple of months. And so much has changed since the beginning of the shutdown, especially in New York City. And I was really excited to see what our writers decided to touch on because, like I said, so much has changed. And even since the beginning of these playwrights writing these monologues, so much has changed. But I just find that this new platform to be very exciting, even though sometimes it feels limiting. I think that it actually can be pretty empowering. So yeah, I would love to have everyone introduce themselves and talk about how you were involved with the Zoomologues and also what you do, what other artistries you do. So anyone can jump in.
Hey, I'm Rachel.
Yeah.
And,
Bueller.
Berger Rosas is my new last name. And
congratulations, by the way.
thank Janelli. And yeah, I founded the co-op. And when I'm not thinking about the artist co-op, I'm going on long walks.
Sounds
Reading
romantic.
Yes, cooking dinner.
Playing with your new puppy.
New pups.
Yay. Cool. Yay.
I'm Nadine. I got to write a Zoomologue for the artist co-op and for Steph. And I act and write. And I've just been watching everything, basically. And just trying to mentally be okay. So yeah, that's it.
What are you watching right now?
The Undoing with Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant. It's nuts. It takes place here in New York City. It revolves around a murder. It's really good.
Cool. The trailers have
Mystery.
definitely intrigued me.
It's crazy. I recommend it for sure.
Cool.
And Borat, the second Borat, of course. That was awesome. It was so good.
I've seen it twice. I highly recommend it.
Oh my God, it's genius. It's so good.
I would even argue it's better than the first one.
I think so too.
Yeah. And Colony too.
I'm Nikki. I've been a member with TAC since February. For the Zoomologues, I wrote a monologue. I don't even remember when. I was trying to be like, when was this happening? And I can't remember.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah. I think I'm going to say the summer.
I think I reached out to you in August. So you were one of the first people. Yeah.
So end of summer, which seems like ages ago now. And I guess I recently moved up to Massachusetts and have been writing and acting some voiceover stuff. So yeah, bits and bobs. It's been actually pretty busy the last couple weeks, which is odd. I'm kind of wait, I have to get off the couch, which is an odd feeling. But yeah, it's nice to feel creatively stimulated again, for sure.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah. You were and Janelle too. They were saying that there was just so much so many projects were happening this weekend, which is so cool. I don't know if it's just the pre-holiday.
I think it's fun that nothing much hasn't changed in the industry. But this time is still very busy. That makes me feel
Yeah, I totally agree. Cool. Chris, you're the next person I see. Volunteering you.
Me?
Yeah, you, Chris. Yes.
Hi, I'm Chris. I've been an artist co-op member since, I want to say 3 years ago. I think it was about a year after it started.
You're one of the originals, right?
The OGs. I'm a director and producer. I work on, there's two things that I work on mainly. One of them is, which is a media entertainment platform for hip hop. And that one is actually, interestingly, all my gigs are coming from theater because the person leading that was the producer I was working for before. And I got kicked out of tech. So it's an interesting transition. And then I also work on a social role play clinic for practicing interpersonal skills.
As an actor?
Cool. It's a platform that uses actors and people who have mediation skills or moderator skills.
That's cool. I've heard of that. That's really fascinating. Are you all doing it online now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. That's awesome. Cool. Well, thank you. Great intro. Janelle?
Hey, oh, what can I say about TAC? You guys have been my saving grace. My last day of work was February 22nd, and that's also been like the last time that I've been in big social groups. And I'm an introvert, so I'm an introverted extrovert, but I didn't realize until this whole pandemic that I do need to be around people, even if I just don't want them to bother me. I just want to be around them. And this was one of the very first platforms that started doing these virtual meetups and the co-working sprints, and the Zoomologues happened really early on. So, you know, you guys have been one of the I guess the outlets that I had. You know, I live in New York, but I'm all the way in Long Island, so it feels like a completely different state, isolated from everything. But it made me feel really good that I can still share my creative skills, and I have something to look forward to, whether it was a cold reading. And when this opportunity came along, you know, to be able to write, act, direct, I just jumped on it and I said, yeah, like, you know, I love meeting other writers and actors and producers, and everybody is doing a little bit of everything. So I found myself really seen. So I love the community that you've built. And I became a member right before all of this started happening. So I was able to see what it was like in person. And I'm so thrilled that the same energy has carried on, you know, 8 months into this whole pandemic, but it's still this beautiful community. There's so many resources, there's so much creativity, so much inspiration. And I just loved working. I had the opportunity to work as an actor and then the following week as a director. And it was such a treat to be able to, you know, see myself as a full-on creative that can do a little bit of everything. And yeah, I just can't wait to see what else happens and how tech grows even more from this.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think, you know, we've been forced to discover how powerful this virtual space actually can be if you utilize it. And you know, I think we all are very grateful for showing up for each other, because I know I always say I'm so grateful for Rachel always saying yes to me, and then everyone showing up for things like this, and for the cold read series and for the Zoomologues, the writers who are like, yes, I'll write something, and directors who say yes, and then they go off and do their rehearsals with their actor and just create these really special pieces. So I'm so excited to share all 5 tonight with you and talk about it, because also hearing about your processes and your experiences, you know, rehearsing, I'm just so curious to hear more about that. So without further ado, I'm just going to quickly check to see if, yeah, we're looking good. Rachel, do you have the video ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, so without further ado, sit back and relax. And we have about a 30-minute Zoomologue showing.
Out. 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 Where are you? Out. How am I doing? I'm okay. I'm good. I don't know. Are we still asking that? Well, I mean, it's been 6 months of this thing. Nothing's really changed. Oh my. I think I just need a minute. I wasn't really prepared to answer that. Are we just gonna drink and cry into our pillows later? Right? I mean, that's all happy hours are these days, right? I've only been to 23 of them. Oh, I didn't put this on my schedule today. What am I saying? I don't have a schedule. How am I? Well, I could use a nap. I woke up, I read a couple emails, I made breakfast, and then I scrolled Facebook for 20 minutes. So my brain is done, and I could really use a nap. I like naps. I nap a lot. Naps are great because I always feel a little naughty for taking them. Like, I don't really earn them, but I take them anyway. Kind of like, well, you know, like eating cake for breakfast or day drinking. Cheers. I don't actually drink that much, by the way. I just with other people. So, let's see. Yeah, naps are great because, well, they're sort of my way of, you know, breaking the rules without really hurting anyone except maybe myself, but not really because I'm unemployed. So all my friends live really far away, and well, let's face it, I've baked my weight in sourdough, so there's not much more I can do, right? I have found true crime podcasts recently, like 97% of the population. Oh, I like to make lists, you know, things that I want to do so that I feel accomplished. Stare into space. That's an easy one. Yep, done that. See, order more gin. Definitely need to do that. Crazy murder story. That's probably gonna come later. You don't need to see that. Drink coffee. Did that. Make the bed. I did that already. Oh, ice cream. I was supposed to write down ice cream. Yeah, so I've pretty much done everything on my list. Except nap. I didn't write down nap either. Let me write that down. Nap. Don't want to forget that. Considering how much I love them. I might even write an ode to naps or a sonnet. I love them so much. Oh, I could stitch it into a pillow. Except I don't know how to do that. I probably can't drink and stab a pillow with a needle, right? It sounds dangerous. I mean, I could do it, but I shouldn't. Let's see. What was I talking about? Oh God, I'm so tired. Everything just takes so much energy, you know? Naps, right, naps. Of course. Naps are great because you don't have to think about how fucked the world is while you're taking them. Comas! Those lucky fuckers. They get to sleep through this whole thing. What else? Yeah, I like to nap a lot. Falling asleep is hard sometimes. Wine helps, obviously. And, oh, you know what else I like to do? I like to fall asleep with the TV on. You know, just keep watching until I can't keep my eyes open anymore. And then I wake up later and the soft blue glow is still flickering, and it's so reassuring. The stories just keep going and going, and infomercials, right? They're so weird. Why do we still do those? Anyway, oh, I have so much to do. I gotta go to the grocery store. Oh, that sucks. Really don't want to do that. I really don't want to put on pants. There's nothing worse than putting on a pair of jeans right now or a bra. Clothes are just dumb. We should really just burn our pants like women burned bras in the 60s, right? Maybe I'm supposed to live in a nudist colony. You know, that sounds great. Far away from Congress and all the people playing their music too loud on the street. Until you remember that's only old, ugly men who live in nudist colonies. Hey, did you guys see that article about the guy who was chasing a wild boar because the boar stole his laptop bag? Isn't that awesome? That could be me. Imagine a boar grabbing my laptop bag is like the worst problem of the day. Oh, I should write that down. Research. Nudist colonies. I don't have to take a plane to get to. Should I do that before or after Doritos? Who am I kidding? I'm just gonna eat a jar of peanut butter and call it a day. So anyway, that's me. Who's next?
I veer from thinking that I want this more than I have ever wanted anyone in my life, to thinking that this too, like all pain, will pass. I love you. I've now said it more out loud than I have ever said it in my head, and I've heard those sweet, soft words whispered back to me once before. I drifted off to the sounds of insects rubbing legs, leaves falling down, gravel moving in the air passing by. I am processing. I miss being irrational. Do you remember when I was irrational? What fun it was in a chaotic way. In a way where at least I was following some emotion, maybe not the right one, but someone for someone. If I fluffed like this before, I've never felt as sure about it as this, and that I wonder if this is just me hyper navigating my life, you know? I navigate all of my growing pains through the art that I'm exposed to and books that I read and stories that I watch. They're all tools, but am I using these tools to tell stories that help people heal and help them feel seen and see their voices being heard, to realize we're not as alone as we think we are? Or am I masking my own fears to show the world theirs? What feels so murky is when my own wants get merged into wanting someone else to be happy. I'm using my own tools on myself for someone else's benefit, and suddenly their story, their narrative, their needs become more important than mine, because I guess I've been thinking, what do I want? An odd question, because I'm sure I've heard it my entire life. What can I get you? What do you like? What do you want for X, Y, and Z? But I don't think I have ever truly asked myself it. In a quiet space in the back top right corner of my brain on a Thursday night, I asked myself, what do you want? And I heard it echo through chambers of my subconscious I didn't know existed. See, I don't know if I want this more than I have ever wanted anything. Because suddenly, I have my own wants outside of someone else's wants. Or if those wants have always existed, have they always been there? And you, by surprise, have stumbled upon a few that hadn't been seen in so long, so do I want you because you've seen me? Maybe a section or a portion of the real me, so it feels different. Nay, special. You make me feel soft, like a caterpillar's body. You make me feel scared, like a caterpillar being touched. You make me feel, though. So I wonder, have I ever loved like this before? Have I ever loved myself like this before? So open and listening. So available to be loved and cared for and given what I want.
Oh, God. Don't ask me that question. You know the answer to that question. Don't look so shocked. Between the plague, the shutdown, and the other plague, I am finally finding the right words and I'm getting rid of the wrong ones. Maybe the physical isolation and aromatic deprivation have given me access to a part of my brain I had forgotten about. Or never knew existed. No, I'm not done. If I pause, it's only to take a moment to breathe. I am nowhere near finished talking. God! I've only just begun. It's kind of ironic because I really resisted this mode of communication in the beginning. I've never enjoyed video chat. I can barely tolerate a phone call. If I want to talk to you, I'll come to you, or you come to me. Clearly, I'm still connected to some past life where I was a village gossip or local fortune teller. You know, I desperately wanted to play Yenta and Fiddler in school, but of course I ended up painting the sets. I saw myself on that stage wearing the headscarf, but nobody else did. Well, now I have a scarf, except I'm wearing it over my nose and mouth every time I want to go out to Walgreens. If nothing else, this catastrophe will kill small talk. Time is crawling, time is fleeting. People we're used to seeing daily we haven't seen in months. 3/4 of our lives can be carried out on an iPad. Our language gets closer to newspeak every day. Double plus ungood, OMG, TLDR. I like words! I like old things like books and dictionaries and book signings. I want to have a book signing for the book I'm going to write one day. Or maybe it should be an audiobook, but that might be kind of hard to sign. But at least I could still go out and promote it. I know things are getting better out there, but they're getting worse out there. What does better even mean? what's good and what's bad. I'm alive. That's good, right? I'm unemployed, so bad. I'm not homeless, so good. Alone, bad. Or good. And what about you?
Good. Good. I'm really glad to be back to these Zoom book club meetings again. I'm sorry I missed the last few meetings, but I have been reading a lot lately and I can't wait to gab about it with everyone. But overall, I'm doing okay. Oh, did you not hear? Joe died of the COVID. Yeah. Yeah, he got sick back in April. And I remember it specifically because of all the days for him to get sick, he chose my birthday, which he then completely forgot because he said he had a fever. Of course, I forgave him. But I mean, can y'all even imagine a husband forgetting their wife's birthday? I would never forget my husband's birthday. But then again, I'm a loving and caring person who always puts others first. So I took care of him. Actually, I always had this fascination with the unwell. Even from the time I was a little girl, I'd always attract hurt or sick animals. And I don't know if y'all know this, but I went to school for nursing right before I met Joe. Mm-hmm. I didn't finish school, though, because I wanted to stay home and have a family. That, of course, was before I knew Joe. He couldn't have kids. But we want to talk about the book. Book. I'll just say one more thing. I don't know if y'all know this, but just out of high school, I was married to someone else. We were fighters. We'd fight all the time. And honestly, I thought that was the worst marriage imaginable. I thought fighting meant you weren't getting along. I thought fighting was the antithesis of love. And I mean, we would scream over everything. You'd get the tiniest hint of a cold, even the scent of allergy season. It was like the world had to come crashing to a halt. I'd have to wear long sleeves and sunglasses for a week, and you should have seen him. But anyhow, I took care of him best I could. And well, he died of an accidental overdose a year into our marriage. Oh, Joe wasn't like that. Joe was just docile. He was feeble. He was, quiet. And even while he was sick, he was just so quiet. And when your husband is sick, what are you supposed to do? I couldn't go anywhere. Like I said, we didn't even go out for my birthday. The only choice I had was to take care of him. This is the last thing I'll say about this because I just want to tell you, ladies, we're not having a funeral. And honestly, I think that's best. I just want to move on. The morning I found him, they picked him up, and that was that. It was a completely normal morning. I got up, made coffee for me and tea for Joe. I made a special tea that really soothes the sick. I could tell he hated it, but I'd make sure he drank it twice a day. I have a wooden chair that my first husband made, and I just rock back and forth in it in the morning, watch him drink his tea. So on that day, I went to check on him like normal, and he was warm, but he wasn't there. He must have died right before I got to him. So I called the authorities, and they took him away. Like I said, Joe was always so quiet. I almost wish he would have made a noise. You'd think When you're dying, you'd make a goddamn noise. Just fight for once. I hated my late husband for always yelling, but this is different. It's like he snuck out and didn't leave a note. It's just so unsatisfying to take care of someone and not have the outcome you want. But like I said, we're not having a funeral. He's already cremated. I don't know if you know this. They're not even doing autopsies right now for COVID patients. So, book club. Also, do y'all think I look like a widow twice over?
I know it's coming. I can feel it. I've been feeling it for years. The uprising, the change, the truth coming to light, the apocalypse, so to speak. Not in the Christian sense. Most of the time they don't know what they're talking about. I'm sure some of them are very fine people, but they're missing the point. In Greek, apocalypse simply means an uncovering. Not the end of the world, not death and total destruction. It's simply a lifting of the veil. Lots of things are being revealed right now, exposed. The planet, the universe, can no longer contain the evil and darkness that is in our world. So it's unveiling itself. And we're here to help it. We felt it was right to return at this time because the world is at a boiling point. Post-pandemic, post-election will be in shambles. There's no telling what will happen in November. What we do know is that either way, there will be anger, there will be destruction, and there will be rebellion. We're here to mitigate that in whatever way we can. We cannot, and we will not give up. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Excuse me. I can't. I'm live right now. No! Fuck! I apologize for the interruption. As I was saying, universal cooperation here in the States has not been one of our strong suits. We're divided and we're losing. Lots of smaller things disconnected all over the country. Resistance will never be futile, but it isn't working. Arguing on Twitter isn't working. Posting infographics on Instagram isn't working. Giving Zuckerberg more fodder for his investors is not working. It's going to take an overhaul, a real collective effort, and we're running out of time. We need to stop all of this individual, self-aggrandizing bullshit heroism and unite behind a single front. It's time to fight. We need a plan. Q. What about her? She would never do it. And that's her thing. She's taken it too far, but she'll never give it up now. Q. You don't know Q? She's the creator of QAnon? The conspiracy about deep state and our country being run by satanic pedophiles. Pizzagate. She was just fucking around on 4chan, but that shit blew up! Yes! Yeah! I mean, it was supposed to discredit them, but now there's no turning back. She keeps dropping hints as if she really knows what's going on. It's total bullshit. But she loves it. And she's always been arrogant in that way. No, of course Q isn't her real name. Expose Q? What would that accomplish? They'll still vote for him. They'll say it's a lie to detract attention away from the real Q. They'll never believe it's her. It'll never work. It will be pointless. Unless we... yes. Right. That could work. We could. She'll be super fucking pissed, but we could do it. We have enough time. Exactly. Oh. This is going to be such a pain in the ass, but it'll be worth it. I'm cutting this meeting short. Thank you for your time, everyone, and thank you for being anonymous. Cryptos, jump on the network now and get to work on this. Everyone else, as always, incremental, actionable items. I need to make a call. I'll be in touch regarding our next meeting.
Yay! Give yourselves a round of applause.
Woohoo!
Woohoo, woohoo, woohoo!
Damn it.
Yay, is that Megan?
My camera works.
She's here. She's here. Yay. Yay. Amazing. Well, there you go. That was our Zoomologues part 2.
Mhm.
And one thing I didn't mention before we started watching was, what I wanted to explore, how I approached our writers was I wanted them to write a monologue for Zoom. So these characters were very deliberately talking on Zoom or some kind of digital space. And I also wanted them to explore what if these characters were essentially asked, like, how are you doing? Like, what is the day in the life of these people? And I was blown away by, one, the writing and how eclectic the writing was, but also just the way that our actors brought these characters to life. And that's to say, I would love to start our conversation, and curious for all of you, actors, writers, and directors, why did you say yes to this project idea, and what were you excited to explore? And you all can just jump in.
Well, I mean, I think I remember, I know I said at the beginning that I don't really remember, but now it's like kind of coming back to me. I wasn't really doing anything in August. Like, it's been a while since I had written anything, and I don't really write monologues. And I thought, oh, it'll be fun to like explore monologues, because I really just enjoy writing really fast, kind of fun dialogue between two characters. Like that's what I like to write. And so like a monologue did feel a bit daunting, but I was like, oh, you know, I like this will be fun. So just kind of like, yeah, I was just looking forward to like exploring and doing something that I wasn't really used to doing, and just doing something creative with like fellow creative people. Because yeah, by August it was like what, like 5 or 6 months in, and it was just like a lot of like napping, as you saw from my monologue. Yeah, so just the opportunity to create, you know.
Yeah, cool.
Well, I was very fortunate to work on the first Zoomologues as a writer, so it was cool to get the opportunity to work as an actor in this one. And I feel like the concept is just so lovely for us to explore what we're going through right now, like wherever we are right now. Because it seems like there is a big difference between the first set and this set or series or whatever. So it's really cool to see that evolution of like where our brains are now, like our mental health. So that's why I knew I really wanted to be a part of it. And it was a ton of fun.
Cool. And I feel like yours too, Nikki's and yours, was very reflective of just the dauntingness of how long we've been dealing with this quarantine and being alone, and how that can really lead to someone needing a lot of mental health support.
Yeah, definitely. And the process for, working with Janelli and stuff was like, it was just really freeing. We bounced off ideas really well together and explored the text. We spent a lot of time talking about the text rather than rehearsing. And then the recording was like the rehearsal. So it was cool. It was a really fun process. I felt like I had a lot of freedom. And we went, we talked to Nikki about the text and like got some insight before we jumped in. And so yeah, I don't know. It's a really good process. It's like exploring a truncated version of what I would imagine a solo performance piece would be, having a writer and a director and you, and that's it.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I can agree. It was such an interesting experience working through Zoom in this level, with a writer and with an actor. And then when it came to shooting it, it was as if we were in person, but not really, because we did the same things, just discover the character, let's play around and see what this story is all about. And I felt like it was something that all of us could reflect on and connect with at one point in our lives in this pandemic. So let's just see how this character moves through the world and how she, expresses herself and how she unravels in the presence of somebody else. And I think once we got that, then it was like, okay, let's play. And Megan is such an awesome actress to work with because she's just, she'll just go with it, and she allows herself to be free, which is always great to work with an actor that allows the character to move through them in that aspect. And that's why I knew it was like, we couldn't really plan it out. There wasn't a set, like a determined way of delivering these lines or taking shots the way that I would film something in real life. Let's work on the lighting and let's do this and let's do that. Rather, this experience was very much, let's see how it works. Let's see how you feel about it. And it was a new experience because I never worked with an actor that intimately before, where we were constantly checking in as to like, how did that feel? Like, does that feel like it would, you know, like something that you could relate with? And then all of a sudden everything else expanded and the world started building up, like the post-its around her, her apartment, you know, it just expanded her little world. And that was pretty cool. And how her dog became involved in it as well. I just loved that. And we just went with it.
I love the post-it idea. When I saw that, I was like, ah, yes, why didn't I think of that? Of course, there's post-its everywhere. It was like, that made me laugh a lot.
Yeah, I was like, you have a post-it on your bed, on your pillows, you know, on your shirt, like on the light switch. Just remind yourself to turn off the lights. Like something so absurd, but it makes sense for people feeling like they're stir crazy in their home.
And it made it so much more theatrical too, because then the storytelling component was so clear to us that this woman is, you know, more or less, she's got neurotic tendencies and is really struggling.
Yeah.
And you built a set. It was cool.
Yeah, and even with the editing was also really fun because there were moments, because it's through Zoom, there were certain hiccups here and there, and then I thought about it. Wait, I could use that to my advantage and like freeze the frame and then jump cut it to something completely different. So the continuity wasn't affected because it just like her Zoom froze, and that was pretty cool.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the stare into space post-it. That was fantastic. It was just like hanging on the first shirt. I was like, yes. It was great.
Yeah, when I first started the post-its, I was like, all of these need to have one specific post-it, and then Janelle was like, no, you can have more. And so we put like a bunch of random ones around the room too, and like some of them were really funny, and I kind of wished I had like, I wanted to like zoom in, like look how funny we are, but yeah, but it was a lot of fun, like taking the idea and like expanding it out, like Janelle was saying. It was cool.
And it was like, okay, what else could we do? Oh, you're dancing, but you signed on before everybody else did. So, like, supposedly nobody's watching you, but we are.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you?
No, go for it.
I was gonna say, I think I said yes because I feel like I've mentally been in sort of like, I have been staring into space and in kind of like just checked out, and writing it was really fun and kind of helped me just get out of my head. And so that, I guess I originally said yes for a very selfish reason, but also I wanted to work with friends as well. And then once I wrote it and like Steph and I went over it and like she gave me some notes, adjustments in terms of like rewriting it, that was so fun. And then Steph and I just like had a blast rehearsing and I loved it. It was a very cool, fun process. And it was refreshing because I was really like scared and kind of against all of this theater happening on Zoom. And then I actually participated and it turned out to be really fun. And so yeah, I think it's an interesting solution and an interesting way of doing things now. And people are really doing like amazing stuff with it. So
Yeah. And, you know, the one thing that I was so excited about what you were exploring was this this world that, you know, so many of us are aware of, but we just haven't really, it hasn't been brought to life, like the whole like anonymous QAnon world, especially because you wrote yours, you know, in September when the pre-election, the lingering doom of the election was upon us. And I feel like that was also when the word about what these conspiracy theories, they were just being brought to the light. And I feel like you gave us, even though it was fiction, you know, it was a character, but you really shown, you illuminated that for us in a really funny, quirky, ridiculous way that, you know,
Chris helped a lot with that.
Chris helped a lot. Yeah. But that was really exciting for me because this is why I love theater, is because I feel like it really gives us, it opens up windows or doors into worlds that we're not familiar with, that, you know, we're trying to humanize. So.
The coffee pot was inspiring. I was like, why do I even bother with mugs? Just use the coffee pot. Obviously.
Right.
I just imagine this like wired up kid having his meeting. Yeah, he's crazy enough to like Chris came up with the coffee pot idea. And I was like, that's genius. Like originally it was just like he's drinking coffee and he's wired, but then Chris got a coffee pot and we were like, of course he has a coffee pot. Like this would probably be somebody crazy enough to like jack a coffee pot from a diner. So yeah, I loved it. It was really fun.
I really love the minimal like set and backdrop and all that, like just making it pure black background and the black hoodie and like all of that was just so effective and it makes it stand out like so much from all the other ones that we've seen. But that was really, really smart, like making him like purely the focus and, you know, the anonymous sort of ideas that you don't really know who they are, where they are. So that was really smart. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, it was so much fun to play with. You know, I feel like as all of our collaborations, it was a pure collaboration where, you know, Chris very much showed us like how dark his room got and like came up with the hoodie, and we just all got to play with what this world is like for this kid and what he, stresses about, and you know his circumstances, you know, that he lives with his mom and that she interrupts him, and like it was just so much fun to explore, you know, that now that we have this teeny tiny frame, especially as a director, you know, just like what does it mean to bring your head in closer or lean back, or like when you like are out of the camera, what does that mean for the audience? And I had a lot of fun playing with that and how that changes the story.
Yeah, I agree with what you were saying, Steph. It was such a different experience directing, you know, using this little box and that's it. And it's funny because usually when you do have a piece that you've worked on, it's always a little tiny box, but the actor never works within these parameters.
Mm-hmm.
It's the, you know, we decide how we edit. So the fact that we're able to, you know, play around with this idea and, you know, picking up with what Nadine said, like, you know, there's so many amazing projects that are coming out of this platform. So much creativity and so much innovation. And even with just keeping it simple, like Megan was talking about the backdrop and the hoodie and the headphones, like it really brought me into that world. And what I loved about all of these pieces and the Zoomologues is the fact that Zoom is such a important aspect of the pieces. Like all of them have incorporated that part. Even when I was acting, I didn't know who exactly it was that I was talking to, but it was just a really personal piece. And I realized the only way that I can do that is if I allow myself to be really vulnerable and seen in that vulnerability. And, you know, especially through Zoom, how do we share each other? How do we allow the layers to just peel off and be, you know, this defenseless little caterpillar that could be squished at any moment, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's why I said yes to this project, because I was so scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. There was like absolutely zero control. It was the first time that I directed something that I didn't write. And yeah, and also acting, I realized, okay, now I'm gonna, you know, read this script, memorize it, and just shoot it however way it looks. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be a certain way. And what I did, it was just like one take and that was it.
Wow.
This is a good take.
You know how many I did? It was like I think I was exhausted. I think that was the last one at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then it wouldn't load. It was just crazy. But
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah. Well, you know, even exploring vulnerability in front of a screen, which is now what we're having to do. And like, and I loved how that showcased like what that looks like and how people can be vulnerable and are forced to be vulnerable if they want any form of connection. You have to have that barrier of a screen.
And the fight that you have as well. Even with Megan's character, there were so many parts of that piece where I wanted her to like fight that, you know, that part of ourselves that won't allow ourselves to be vulnerable. It kind of like, okay, you know, these infomercials, right? Like, let's talk about something else. But deep down inside, there was always that humanity. And she brought it out so beautifully when she's talking about falling asleep in front of the TV. And there was like this beautiful softness to it. You know, when we just, you just have to fight it sometimes, and then you just have to let it go and surrender and say, okay, you're watching me, let's do this. And I think that's what acting is all about. Acting is really scary, and being in front of these millions of people watching you, and allow yourself to get self-conscious, but also just letting yourself be free.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious, so what were some of the things that really surprised you about the process that you didn't expect? Yeah.
Hi, everybody. You're
here.
I know. I just got off work.
Yay!
So I
so
just popped in. And Janelli, your hair is so pretty.
Thank you.
Like, I don't know if anybody's commented on it yet, but good work. Something that really surprised me about the process is I've written sketch and I've written like scenes and things like that, but I had never written a monologue that was like a monologue for a monologue's sake, as like its own standalone thing. And once Jessica, the who directed mine, she made a really good point. She was like, stop thinking of it as a monologue, start thinking of it as a short one-woman play. And that was hugely helpful, because then it gave me, I was able to like have more of an arc throughout the entire thing. Whereas like a monologue that is specific to a play, it's like, it's a small portion of a larger character. I was like, nope, we got to show the entire character right here, right now. And so that was like hugely helpful. And yeah, going in, I hadn't thought of it that way. And so, because you think monologue, you think, you know, it's a character and here's the play, or like it's just a bit of it. But yeah, like having all of it there at once in a 3 to 5 minute setting was, yeah, thinking of that as like the whole thing.
That's cool. And your character, she was so quirky and so unexpected. And I remember when you sent it to me, I was so excited, but also just like, where did she come up with this person? Wow.
Honestly, I don't even know where I came up with her. Well, I was like on the beach, because I remember I messaged you. I was like, I think I want to write something. And I went to the beach that day and I was like, I think I am going to write about somebody that's going to kill their husband. And I was like, and then blame it on COVID. Why not? You know, there's bound to be somebody that does that. So, and then I sent you a couple of different drafts, and I was just like heightening it until it got, because the first time I wrote it, I sent it to like some friends and my family, and they were like, I don't really get it. Like, it was like too subtle, that she killed him. And so then it needed more and more. So yeah.
That's great. And Amy just killed
my
it,
God.
pun intended. Yeah, so good.
Yeah, no, she
Cool.
really like made it her own. And like all of the accent that she did, I mean, I don't know if you can tell, I'm from Minnesota, so my accent is like strongly Midwestern. So whenever I write something, that's how I initially hear it. And she is from the South, so she heard it in a Southern accent and then wanted to do it that way. And so I tweaked some of it to like just some of the like vernacular like syntax to kind of fit that, and it worked so well.
That's so cool. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, that piece really took me on that roller coaster ride. When you talk about, you know, the arc, I did not expect that at all. I did not expect, you know, for her to talk about killing her husband and, oh, you know, COVID doesn't have autopsies. I was like, no way, she did it. It was so fun and shocking at the same time. It was brilliant.
Like, what a savage.
Yes.
Oh
And
my
she drinks her wine and she's wearing bright red. It all clicked. And she's like, you know, my second dead husband. I was like, Black Widow? Yes.
That last
It's so
moment.
fun.
That last moment where she's like, "Do I look like a widow twice over?" And I was like, "Oh, fierce woman, you! Look at you! That was great."
It's like true crime podcast right there.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And her name, there was, so Velma, I forget their last names now, but because I named her Velma Jane, which she never says in the monologue, but there was these two women. One of them, her name was Velma something, and she was a nurse who would, she ended up like being prosecuted for killing like over 60 patients and doing like weird experiments on them and then being like, oh, they died and I'm a nurse, it's okay. And then this other person, Jane something or other, she was this woman who killed two husbands, her mother, and like a sister-in-law or something like that, and she poisoned all of them. And so I was like, I like in the middle of the night, because I was like, I need to give her a name. And in the middle of the night, I was like Googling like, you know, murderesses. And I found those two, and I was like, she's Velma Jane from here on out.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Scary. So
Yeah.
Actually, going off that piece, I was thinking about, I had so much fun envisioning like where each of these take place, because some of them are like, they're in a Zoom setting, and then some of them are more abstract. So for that piece with the Southern lady that killed her two husbands, it was fun imagining myself being in the book club and like seeing this woman go in and out of the monologue and be like, so anyway, and then that happened. Oh, book, yes. And then you're just like, do I need to call the police? Like, what is... And then yeah, and then with the QAnon and with the one we did with James and Regina, and with Megan, it was okay, they're talking, it seems like they're like in the middle of a meeting and they're talking to someone and they're just having like, sorry, with the first one with Megan, and then with James, it's like they're talking to a friend or they're in a meeting and then they're just having this vulnerable moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun to see like bigger, quirkier characters come out of this round. I would say, just not your everyday, or at least, you know, our everyday, I would assume. And yeah, that just like, I could tell that everyone was having a lot of fun just exploring what other characters, what other people might be, you know, navigating right now. So it was it was a lot of fun to watch that.
Yeah, it really speaks to the evolution of the first series and this one. You know, where the first one, I think there were more people processing the like initial shock and depression of what has happened, and then this one was more like, all right, we're settled into this, fuck it, but buckle up, here's some weirdos, you know, like it's fun with it. Stuff that's going on.
Yeah, I totally feel that, because you're totally right. the first round was like how to deal with the pandemic, and then the second round, especially the one that you acted in, Megan. Who wrote that one? I'm sorry. You did. Okay, that was so fun. And like, what a nut job. And like, I mean that in the most endearing way, but like, and we've also all been that nut job in our rooms, right? You know, like we've all like, I mean, maybe not with so many Post-its, but like it was so relatable in such a horrifying way, you know?
Yeah, I feel like all the ones that were really expressing their pain, I think we all saw. I could definitely see a bit of myself in those, especially the first three. Yeah, it's like
I
laughing
wonder
good
if the progression is like, because we're also further into quarantine, so everyone's lost it and become more unhinged as time has progressed.
Definitely.
Yeah.
For sure. It'll be interesting to see if
Sure.
the holidays, like how that informs, I don't know, like a second lockdown, second wave, how to get real suicidal up in this bitch. I don't know.
Right. Well, and that's, you know, so much is changing literally every week, you know. It's even just the beginning of the week, it feels like a whole different world than now. So, and I am curious, how was the process of rehearsing? Like, what surprised you about that? What were the challenges? What, you know, excited you? What did you like to explore?
For me, acting wise, I realized uh, it was really getting myself to allow myself to be seen. You know, because this piece, it was so heavy in um, just authenticity, and I realized, you know, like Megan and Rebecca were saying, that this second wave just became a lot more personal than the first, you know, the first wave. And what has this pandemic done to relationships? There's so many people that have been breaking up. And how do you break up in a pandemic? You know, how do you break up when, like, are we still living together? Like, what's happening here? And that's what I really tapped into with this piece, because that's really what it was. It was finding out, like, you know, I do everything for you, and I've just lived my life, you know, for other people. And now, because I'm not working, or because I'm just here, now I'm focusing on me. What do I want? I'm asking myself these questions for the first time. And I think the part of the rehearsal that was a little bit difficult was like asking myself these questions and realizing, like, hey, do I ask myself these questions, and checking in with myself. So it was very interesting, this rehearsal process, because I felt like it hit really close to home. And like Steph, you were saying that there's pieces of it that, you know, we've all been there, especially with the pain. I just realized that this is something that I never talked about with anybody before, let alone like, you know, make a monologue out of it, bring it to life. And it was the first time that Janelli, the person, felt exposed through this character, even though it wasn't me, it wasn't my circumstances, but it just felt so real. And I think the rehearsals were just like, just be, you know, just be real, you know, just be this person, just talk, you know, relate to what they were saying. And you know, Janelle is so incredible with her writing that it just became so effortless.
Yeah. Cool.
I feel like I had a lot of anxiety. Like, no, normally I have a lot of steady anxiety that kind of goes like this and maybe goes up and down. But like in pandemic times, I feel like my anxiety is like a shockwave, like it goes up and down a lot more into more extremes. And so I felt like this pressure to like, oh shit, I have to learn lines. I need to do things. I need to be motivated. And so that anxiety was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And I was really not like, I was procrastinating a lot in the process until we got to like closer to the actual shoot. And then I was like, okay. And I finally got into it, and we played a lot. So that helped a lot. But so I think I was just surprised at how much I could, just how much anxiety and unmotivation I felt to do this. even though I love it and I had a great time doing it. But, just this whole idea of like, I committed to something and now I have to do something. I don't have the energy and I'm depressed and I'm anxious and this sucks and I don't want to do it.
I can completely relate to that. That's exactly how I felt. And I felt so anxious, and especially being like on the writer side. I've never been like just the writer. I don't mean to say like just the writer, but I've either written and acted in it, or written and directed it, or written and blah, or written and blah, you know what I mean? It's so to like, it'd sit, and I asked, I was like, do you mind if I sit in rehearsals? I don't have to, but to sit in rehearsals and just like hear it, like hear somebody else say my words without really having a lot of input on how they say them, or like, influencing the scene so much, was like very white knuckly, but yeah, and like you put the backdrop of just regular COVID anxiety. Like, I honestly, the fact that any of us did anything is a miracle. Truly. And I like, everybody's on mute, but I think you're laughing at me, right? Okay, cool.
I totally agree with that statement. Doing anything right now is a bonus. It's just like,
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Like how I said at the top that like this has been a really busy couple of weeks for me. And I'm kind of like, bitch, why aren't you more like thrilled about this? And I'm like, because I have to get off the couch. I have to like put a bra on and be a person. Like, I'm not used to this. Totally. And I like, Rebecca, like I totally relate to that. I've been doing this, like I've been writing for a few years now, and kind of had mixed projects where I am just the playwright, and I just have to like sit at the back of the room and be like, they're saying things I wrote in my bedroom just because I thought I was being funny. Like, it's really weird. And I love the workshop and rehearsal process because it makes sense in my head. But when an actor or director are like, we don't know what you mean, and I'm like, oh, okay, so like, fine, I'll like fix it so it makes sense outside of my head. But like something I've been finding challenging in these, and I don't know if the writers or even the actors probably feel this way as well, in that like when you're in a live theater setting, like that's always a test to gauge how the words are landing on people. So like in a Zoom where they're like, oh, loved your piece or loved that, and I'm like, did you? Because like you can't hear laughter, or like you can't feel like, you're kind of like, but was it like, I don't like, it's just, you're kind of just looking at a lovely performer doing something, and you're like, oh, that went the way I wanted it to go.
I totally get that. And my theater background is improv, and like that is like audience participation to the nth degree. Like they, decide everything. And so it's been very hard for me to do like this, because I do opera and I do improv. So like to have this kind of like real separation between audience and performer has been so difficult for me. And I think it literally is like a miracle that we do anything. It really is. And I mean, yeah, you're completely right in thinking it's not the same to have like people comment and be like, that was wonderful. You're like, but like, could you clap loud enough for me to hear it? I didn't hear it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I completely support people being, unmuted, because I think especially with stuff like this, it does help, even if we do talk over each other, clap over each other. It's just like knowing that at least you can hear the person and then like kind of see them through a screen. Like I see you, Rebecca, like trying to process me as I'm like on your
and like
computer or
Zoom
whatever it
needs
is.
to figure it out so that we don't have, just the loudest person wins. Like how, patriarchal is that? We need like, we need it to all be together.
No, it's true. And like, it just makes it feel, for me, I don't know about everyone else, but it's been really hard for me to warm up to this new medium because it still feels quite solitary. And I know that I didn't go into theater for a solitary experience.
Amen. And I've been saying that all quarantine. I was like, yeah, snap away. I was like, I would not have gotten into theater if this was what I thought theater was going to be.
Mhm.
And I think, I mean, I don't know, the people who are like us, like, are the ones that need to push further, because we're the people that enjoy making connections and want to make more connections. And I don't know, we got to be strong. We got to be strong. You know, like,
Right.
it's the only thing we can think.
I agree
Right.
so much with what you're saying, especially because, you know, I was so used to working in a particular way, especially as a director with my actors and with the writers and vice versa. But I noticed that, you know, having this mindset, let's just work with what we have. You know, let's just see what happens and just push forward. And, you know, I realized that I learned how to have better communication as a director because of this, you know, challenge of being in a separate space. You know, when I would talk to Megan and she would tell me about how she felt and she felt very anxious, I was like, wow, that's great, let's use that as the character, because I think that's like something that'll drive this story. Like, what kind of person is she? If we nail down her personality, we can just go with that. And then all of a sudden I saw Megan just flourish, and I saw the pressure literally just melt. And that's when we just started doing this rehearsal, and it came out, you know, this beautiful thing. And I didn't even worry about the lines. I told her, I was like, you have it down packed, you have it in your body, now we just have to let it melt. But I don't know if I would have had the same language had it not been for this challenge of not being in the same room. I think I learned how to be very specific and also listen. It's helped me become such a better listener, you know, and notice certain cues that I don't think I would have, you know, would have picked up on had I been in the same room, because I realized how distracted we get when we're around each other. Everybody's always on their phones, or somebody's always thinking while you're talking to somebody, they're always thinking about, oh, what am I supposed to do? And you're like, uh-huh. But now, because we're not used to being with people, I think that now we're more focused on each other now. Like, we're actually looking at people through a screen, and we could see, like, are you okay? We're noticing their eyes, you know, we're noticing how they're breathing. There's certain subtleties that I think I've picked up on that.
And it's like, sorry,
Yeah, no,
it's
continue.
like, it's weirdly intimate with
Yes.
missing a lot of intimacy. You know what I mean?
Yes. You
Because
nailed it.
it's so intimate. I'm like literally staring at your face and nothing else, but I'm not getting any of your physical energy, and I'm not getting any of your smell or your, you know, sight and oral, like, reciprocation. Is not all that you get from being around people. And so to just have that is like, kind of, it's like a I don't know, it's like smelling a steak and not being able to eat it or something, you know. It's like you feel like you're missing part of it, but you're so close. And so having that kind of intimacy, and there's so much facial, and I don't know about y'all, I know, Janelle, you do like a lot of film, but I usually do like theater or opera, where it's like, honestly, very far away. And so you have to do so much with your face, and you have to do so much heightened gestures and whatnot. And so to have this kind of like close encounter acting is like truly a different beast.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, since you brought up film, that for me it felt a lot like doing a self-tape at home.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's basically a different medium. It's not theater. It's more akin to short film or film in general. So I sort of understand that, like, we're missing the energy of the other people in the room, but it also helps to narrow the focus and to really be in the moment. And kind of, it actually helped me a lot in some ways, because it's like, there's not five other people watching me. There's only this screen. It's not really a person, but is a person on the other side. So I can disconnect this idea of, like, that self-conscious idea of people watching so much, that I feel more like a person in front of a group of people or working with a lot of people. So in that sense, there's almost an advantage to it in that way. just because I can pretend like nobody really is there. Or like,
Right.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely loved the thing that like really surprised me, both because I acted in the first set of Zoomologues and then directed in this one. But with both experiences, I felt like the rehearsals over Zoom felt like just a collaboration, as if we were all in the room together, which was really fun because the conversation was happening and we were playing, and it felt like we were very much in a rehearsal room together. And I was surprised at how seamless it felt. And then with the performance, that was just completely different. And I'm curious to hear Chris's thoughts too, because I was the one who directed him. But I remember having to do recordings after recording, and it is pretty much like what you said, Megan. It's a self-tape. It's not an actual theater performance. You don't have an audience responding. And I was like stopping and starting constantly, and you just kind of you sent in your best take or what the director agreed on. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, doing those takes in a weird way, I actually felt less, like almost more, at times more restricted, both because of the camera view, because you're working off a laptop camera, so you have a certain range of motion. And then I also only did it at night so that we could get that dark background. Mm-hmm. And that's when my roommates sleep. So you also have to gauge your volume. And so I was like trying to yell away from them. I'm not going to go into the drama. One of them's moving out. And it's just not.
Did you wake them up? Fuck!
I did, but not during these rehearsals. I don't think. Who's to say? But yeah, that was something I was very self-conscious about. But it was also interesting. I've never been in a process where I was able to collaborate with other people and like look at tapes and kind of like break it down and see like, oh, this one works. And then this, because like I had an opinion about which take I liked, and then Steph and Nadine had their opinions about which take worked. And I was like, oh, okay, so they liked these parts actually. And then just kind of as you iterate and as you rehearse over and over again, you're able to make a take that actually has the best of what people respond to.
That's what's so great about film. You get to edit it.
Yeah, I think, for example, with Megan, that intro, that wasn't even a part of it. That was literally like her just getting ready. And then when I'm editing, I'm like, oh, I'm going to put that part in. And she's like, okay, let's see what happens. And I'm like, your dog makes an appearance. It's so cute. And we just went with it. But it wasn't part of the rehearsal. It was just like, we're just on Zoom and I just put record. So when I was editing, I found all these interesting little pieces. And I was like, oh, I can use that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyone else? Any challenges? Were there anything that like, I don't know, what do you feel like you're going to take away from working on these Zoomologues and creating theater, over the digital space?
I actually am toying with a one-act Zoom play. Yeah, like
yay.
Yeah, I have two friends from high school that I've been friends with for a long time, and we periodically have done little like Zoom hangouts throughout quarantine, and the three of us live extremely different lives. And I was like, this could, I mean, definitely heightened. Like we live boring lives compared to the characters I would create. But yeah, I've kind of thought about that. I might do something like that. And by thinking about writing it, I literally mean thinking about it. Like I haven't written a thing.
That's awesome though.
Yeah. And I was like, even post-pandemic, like, I don't know, you could figure out how to do it. Like,
right. Right. And I think, that's why I personally love theater, is because it reflects back. It's a mirror of our lives, and it helps us, as people, process our own experiences when we're able to see it reflected back at us. And this is a reality that we are dealing with. And so all of our interactions are over this digital space now. And I think it's really fascinating to see how can we apply our theater techniques to this, and how can we tell stories for an audience through this digital space. And because this is what we're dealing with now. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, thanks.
I think instead of rejecting the idea of doing theater over a digital space, like, it warmed me up to it more. Like, actually working on something was really fun. It made me want to watch more of it. And so, I think from working on something, it just led me to be more open to the idea of embracing it.
Cool.
That's I definitely agree with Nadine. And it, I am warming up to it. It's still hard because it's not, I don't think in the visual way. There is a visual element to this form, obviously, but when you're writing, you kind of have to think of where the audience is going to be, where you don't have to really think about that, but that's to say, having said all that, I've had a lot of opportunities to write in this medium now, and each time it's a learning experience. And I feel like I'm getting better at the monologue stuff. I just had a monologue be performed by a company last night, and it went really well. I think, again, I don't know.
So cool.
And
as long as it's good for you.
Yeah, and there's there's definitely one acts and stuff coming up that I've been writing and things like that. So, we have to be adaptable. So, fine.
Right. This is not forever. Theater is gonna come back. It will never go away. But it's just
I feel like this experience definitely made me a lot more confident about putting work out there. And especially as a writer, sometimes we have these ideas, like Rebecca said, wouldn't this be cool? But then we start thinking too much in our heads, like, I don't know, maybe that was just like a dumb idea, But I feel like now, with this opportunity to just write a monologue, shoot it, edit it, do everything within like a couple of days. Production doesn't need to take that long. And now it made me more confident to just explore on these little ideas that I've been having. And one of them has been to direct and produce a short film, or maybe like a short film series with Zoom, because it's all about the camera angles and how we can use the camera and where we're at. And I've just have these little tiny ideas. And I have a podcast that I'm launching next week, and it stemmed from a docu-series idea that I was supposed to be filming in March. I was going to go on the road and start filming this, but obviously it didn't happen. So this podcast became a spin-off project out of that docu-series. And I just started talking to people via Zoom. And now I'm just incorporating maybe, using the Zoom footage as part of the docu-series, maybe, just different ideas. And now I feel a lot more confident about those ideas and just putting it out there. And if it didn't work, what's the worst that could happen? You just throw, put it to the side, but at least you do something. At least you put it out there. The same thing with these monologues, like, you put yourself out there, you do it. At the end of the day, you just have a bunch of monologues that you could put on your reel or something, or you have this writing that was actually performed, like that. Sometimes, you read things a million times, but when you hear it out loud, the way that you do during the cold reading sessions on Mondays, like it just brings it to life. And that also inspired me to start writing a lot more, just to see if I could just bring in pages. It doesn't have to be the complete, script. And I think for me as a writer, I didn't like to put things out there because they always felt incomplete. But now that's totally out the window.
babe, what's
Right.
complete? Like who, like,
Exactly. Who says, you
Nothing is
can't
ever
put it out
complete.
yet?
like, yeah. And working with playwrights and librettists and opera composers who, like, none of them are rigid about their work, and it's so hilarious to me because doing opera, like, you treat the score as if it is scripture, and it's like, well, they wrote it this way, and it's like, but every composer I've ever met, if I'm like, I don't want to sing it this way, they're like, oh, sing it that way then. It's like, it's so funny to me. Like, so you have to think of it from that perspective of, like, if I'm the performer and I say I want to do it like this, usually if the writer is, like, sane, they'll be like, okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
As long as you justify. If you're just like, a diva queen, then maybe.
Oh, that's something I liked about, like, collaborating with Steph. I had, like, a first draft, and then we had lunch, and I showed it to her, and she gave me some notes and asked some questions, and, like, yeah. And then even during the process, we, like, switched some moments and lines around, and it was cool. It was fun. I liked having director and actor input. Whereas I feel like, at least in the past, with things I worked with, like, there are very strong lines and boundaries drawn between each role. Whereas with this, I felt like it was, like, super collaborative. I like that.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think after this experience, I definitely want to put myself out there in a position where I could have these meetings with writer, director, actors, because I thought how important it is just to be able to, brainstorm with other creatives, because it just brings everything to life. There's certain things that I missed, but then when talking to Megan and then emailing Nikki about, like, hey, what do you think about this? And, getting the feedback, you have you have complete freedom. Like, Nikki gave us complete freedom to discover the character. She didn't make anything super specific. So that was really fun, because I want, as I always want to respect the writing and what's the writer's vision, and the director just brings that to life and, communicates that with the actor. But this was such a different experience in which we were all kids in the sandbox, just playing with these different tools and, like, hey, we're going to make a story and let's see what happens.
I actually think there's a huge opportunity in this paradigm shift, because I think one of the biggest obstacles for artists, for theater artists, is real estate when they're workshopping or when they're putting on productions. And this whole experience working with Steph and Nadine and Regina and James, working on these Zoomologues, was a real powerful pitch for just being able to workshop and experiment in a really fun and also productive way from your couch.
Yep.
And it's almost like kind of that same thing where it's like, well, you don't have, I think before in the back of my mind, it's like, well, I don't know if I should really, like, dig into this or play with this yet. Like, it's just gonna, I have to get rehearsal space, and then I have to coordinate with the people, and I gotta meet there. And now it's like, oh, it's like, what excuse do you, not to other people, but to yourself, it's like, well, what excuse do you have now? It's like, you don't have the barrier of commute or real estate or meeting up at, like, this particular point in Manhattan when it's not peak traffic, when everybody's schedules align. It's like, when it's convenient and easy for everybody.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point. Just even thinking about all the, like, table reads and the rehearsals that you've had where it's literally you're just talking and you feel like you need a space in order to do it. And, I love being in a space with people, but I do feel like this opens up really big doors to allowing us to create more than we even expected, and not letting those things, like not having real estate, not being able to commute, keep us from doing it.
Yeah, maybe in the future, it could kind of, like, some things could be used in lieu of booking a space and stuff. And so at least for like off Broadway theater. It could save just a lot of time and money for everyone as well. So it's a neat solution.
Yeah. All those production meetings,
Yeah.
right? That they don't necessarily need
It'd be
space
so
for.
easy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it makes this a lot more accessible to people who don't have the same kind of access. Like I can show this to my family in California, or if you're in the middle of nowhere, but you're a huge theater fan. Yeah, because I think streaming for theater was slow to catch up. Like I think for a number of reasons, both good and bad, but this kind of just like, well, we're all online now. Have fun with that.
Right.
So, but at the same time, it's like, we're online now. You can consume our content online.
Right. And, you know, all those recorded plays, I feel like that's like a completely different beast. And I also, that is not the same experience, but I am curious to see if you actually write something that's meant for the digital platform, for Zoom, you have a set, you know, you have a stage, which is this like teeny tiny box. And how can we perform live theater through this? Live meaning it's happening in real time, even though these Zoomologues weren't that, but this like happening in real time human connections that we're all grappling with and navigating.
I do think there's a really cool opportunity with immersive theater, especially looking at the book club one, because I think with immersive theater, people get scared and they're just like, I don't want to be there, and then the people interact with me, and what if they spit on me or touch me, God forbid. But with this, you're in the safety of your own room, you're abstracted from the screen, but you're still in it. And so if it's immersed in a Zoom-like setting, I think that's a really cool idea. So plays that are immersive, they're live, they're theatrical, but they're within this context. There's a lot of cool stuff you can play with there.
It's so cool that you said that, Chris, because I'm not a playwright. I've just worked on film. And before this pandemic hit, I was working at this pop-up shop called Dolby in Soho. And it was very immersive in that aspect. They had different rooms, different installations and things like that. And while I was working there, I had this idea to write this immersive play. And, you know, like you mentioned about the space, and I needed to find a building that I can build these sets with different rooms and have people walk through them. And it just became such a headache that I put that idea in the back burner. And hearing you talk, all of a sudden that came back. And I was like, wait, maybe I could do that, you know, because of Zoom. And what I love about Zoom is that in a way, it's as if live theater and film had a child and it became this platform, because you do have to have the skills of live theater. You have to have the technical, you know, like you have to know how to write, you know, with improv and how to figure things out. But at the same time, because this is a certain platform, you have to know in film, how are you going to use the camera angle? And like you mentioned about, you know, close-ups and far away, you could totally do that. But I feel like the only way that it could be really cool is if you mix both mediums together. And I think we don't usually have that. Playwrights and filmmakers are so separate all the time. And I think this is a really great opportunity where artists could help each other with all of their skill sets. And it'll be really great to see what happens, especially with the immersive theater idea. I could totally see it working.
Were you working at the Dolby Sound thing?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
Yeah, I worked there for like
2 in like 2019.
Mm-hmm.
But it was
That was me.
cool.
I was working there.
That's so cool. Yeah.
So it's been lovely to meet all you all and get to talk about all these wonderful things, but I'm actually in a sketch show tonight.
Oh.
And I gotta go meet with my group. But I
No
look
worries.
forward to talking to you all. Have a great rest of your evening, and I hope that we all can collaborate on something soon.
Yeah. Nikki, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so
So
much.
wonderful having you.
Nice meeting you.
I
Bye.
actually also have to go. I'm
okay.
so sorry. Yeah.
No. I think
And
this is
also that was my mom like wanted to come today, so I don't know if you saw like the like little box of
We
like,
did.
video. Oh my god, I told her, I was like, you can put your face on, your face is beautiful, like put your, she was like, I'm scared, they don't know me. I was like, she was like texting me, she was like, they're so talented, they're so wonderful, and I'm like, Mom,
so
tell
sweet.
them that
Oh my
and
God.
tell them. And she just
That's
like
so
couldn't
sweet.
stop. She wanted to make sure that you knew my mom approves of all of you. You're all wonderful.
Well, tell her thank you so much for being here. It was so sweet to have her. I know I kept saying like you can show up, but
Oh,
it's
she's
all
so
good.
funny. She's so funny.
all
I mean,
good.
like literally, she looks like me, just like plus 25 years. You know, so like it's fine.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Cool.
anyway. Okay.
Well, thanks for jumping on.
Oh, I'm so glad to
So
meet
good.
with y'all. I'm sorry, I've like missed like the last Mondays, like the last 10 Mondays. So,
Don't you worry. No, it's all good. It's always
well,
good to see
I
you
love
no matter
you
what.
all, and thank you, Rachel, for all of this. And happy wedding. I like haven't talked to you at all since you got married. You're a Mrs. now.
Yeah, thank you. It's a really cool conversation, by the way. I was telling Steph, I don't know, this woman who does dance and technology actually called me today out of the blue and was like, how are you doing theater on Zoom, and would people be interested in workshops? I was like, I don't know, like yes, but no, like people are so fed up with this shit. But this is, I'm so glad that now I'm like, it's 10 o'clock, I'm tired. But I feel like, I'm glad that we recorded this actually, because I would love to send it to her.
Cool.
Oh God.
Awesome.
Yes, please send this to her.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, no, Rebecca, feel free to sign off.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
lovely to see
Do
everybody.
what you need to do.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye. Yeah. And, I think like what Rachel said, this has been such an incredible conversation and we brought up even like bigger ideas and newer ideas that I hadn't thought of yet about what the future of theater could look like. But I think, we'll just kind of come to a nice close. And thank you all so much for those of you who have been a part of the Zoomologues from the very beginning, and for those who have just been actively a part of all of, these wacky ideas, and wanting to be a part of it. I just am so grateful for you all because, they wouldn't exist if you didn't show up for them. So I am just so grateful for you all.
Well, thank you so
Thanks
much
for inviting us. It was really fun, and it was good to see everybody.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you for making this a night. Even though we've already seen the Zoom logs, it was really cool to just sit back with other creatives and talk about the process.
Cool. Good. I'm glad. Yeah, I think you don't have the same experience or relationship with the process until you can talk to the other people who also did it. So I'm so glad that you all were able to be here. So, awkward smile. No, I'm just kidding. So anyways, well, I will be in touch with you all. There's more stuff on the horizon. So please be in touch with me. I'll be in touch with you. And yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful evening.
You too, Steph. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steph.
And thank you, Rachel,
Thank
for
you,
everything.
Steph.
Thank you, Rachel.
Rachel. Steph. Thank you, Steph. I'm just here.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah, no.